Stories help us to make sense of the world in which we live. We all have a story that includes plots and subplots filled with joy and heartache, surprise and wonder. This is the story of Center for Global Impact. It's a story of empowerment for the poor, a story of protection for the vulnerable, and the privilege we have of sharing the greatest story ever written, the gospel of Jesus, both in Cambodia and here in the United States. Center for Global Impact would like to invite you into our story. In April 1975, the Khmer Rouge took control of Cambodia. And for 4 years, the Cambodian people were brutally stripped of their dignity and ultimately their lives. The communist regime abolished schooling and religion and traditional cultural practices, and they turned the public schools and the churches and the universities into prisons. Through the brutality of the Khmer Rouge, Cambodia was immobilized, and with the lack of education for an entire generation, parents are put in an impossible place. Many parents become traffickers of their own children, as forced labor and prostitution seem to be the most profitable option. The Khmer Rouge tried to end the story of Cambodia, but the story isn't finished. This is our story. Center for Global Impact is bringing the good news of Jesus to those in the grip of poverty and bondage. We are engaging a once victimized culture with education, and we are helping capable women embrace their God-given self-worth. We use food and fashion to connect us through conversation and innovation. CGI leverages these vocational skills to relationally invest in young lives that are desperate for guidance and hope. Our Culinary Training Center, the Imprint Project, and our Bai Tavi workshop are all devoted to this story of transformation. This is the Culinary Training Center, a classroom and kitchen filled with women who all have their own stories. Sokia was abandoned by her family, and with little education and lack of resources, her story was desperate. But Sokia chose a different ending to her story. Each morning, she came to the Culinary Training Center to learn skills in cooking and sanitation and customer care. She quickly mastered the culinary craft and graduated from the program. Sokia now works at CGI's Green Mango restaurant, earning a consistent income to care for herself and her brother. This is our story. The Imprint Project is a safe place for students like Kuntia who ran away from an abusive home. Through the year-long program, she is taught basic life skills, general education, and is supported through a staff of social workers to holistically reintegrate back into her community. This is our story. Bai Tavi is a workshop filled with mothers and daughters and sisters who find hope through fair employment. Nimol's story has wounds from a broken marriage and an inability to financially support her children. At the Bai Tavi workshop, Nimol was able to realize her value and potential and to develop her skills as a seamstress in order to provide for herself and send her children to school. Joy and laughter fill her life as she is growing the gifts that God gave her in a safe work environment. This is our story. Our story isn't to bring Jesus to Cambodia. He is already there. We are simply providing an opportunity for women to meet him in the kitchen and in the classroom and in the sewing workshop. And this is our story because it can include you. Center for Global Impact is a community of mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, young and old, each with our own story of poverty and the transforming power of the gospel of Jesus working in our lives. We aren't the heroes at the end of this story. Jesus is. We are contributing characters that continue to share a story of empowerment and redemption with the women in Cambodia. This is our story. Will you join us?